Last night I finished off these moulds that I was working on yesterday. There's quite a lot of pressure to get these done, so I'm going through it as fast as I possibly can. Basically, these moulds have had 4 layers of rubber on them, with the plasticine separator being put on as well. At the moment I'm using clay keys to lock the rubber to the fibre-glass jackets. I always use fibre-glass, it's so tough and strong, quick to apply. But it is very smelly, so Jesmonite just is not as good, but they certainly do. I find Jesmonite fragile and heavy once it's been cast, and it's difficult to see where to put the fixings when you're trying to screw the whole thing together, and the precision is what's needed with this. Moulds are not just moulds. Don't view a mould as a mould, view it as a tool. It's a tool to make the sculpture that you produced in the first place into a perfect facsimile in wax, in resin, in bronze, whatever you're going to be making. This mould is the key, is the key to all of that. So don't view it as a mould, view it as a tool. Make it as well as you possibly can. And I'm just going to show you via photographs and very brief videos how I do this in my studio. These are the moulds so far. So I started this job at 9:30. It's now 12 o'clock. I've trimmed all the rubbers, made sure all the keys were open and ready to fill. I put the jackets on, and you can see, one of the advantages you get from resin is that you can see through it. So I can see exactly where my drill holes need to be. They go right through the center of my fiberglass keys. That holds the rubber in place, but it also stops me from over tightening the mold. So there's a lot of advantages to running this system. At the moment, I tend to change my mind a lot, so at the moment this is what I do. I've trimmed the jackets, and I keep everything under control whilst I'm working. So as soon as I'd finished the fibre glassing itself, I put these straight in front of the heater, and I knew that if I left them for 15 minutes or so, that would be the perfect time to trim. So these have all been cut with a standing knife. I hate grinding. I'm too old for grinding these days. It's got to be just trimmed with a knife so it's nice and neat. Then I put a flow coat over the top. That's just a high catalyst resin liquid that I put a paint onto the top of it. It does two things. It makes the mould look pretty. You can see how shiny it all looks. It makes it safe. I can run my fingers over it without the risk of splinters. But also all these moulds have to be archived, so I can write on them easily. All of it's just thought out really, so it's a nice professional system that runs smoothly every time. You don't really have to think about it too much. It all goes together as just one system. So that's 5 moulds that I've made. These two now have to be carefully taken off the base without dismantling them at all. And then I fill the plug that's underneath. I don't know if any of you were watching before, but there was a funny little square in the tummy of both of the rhinos, the baby and the mother. That's a plug. I'm using that to get wax into the actual piece itself. These are all going to be bronzes, so you have to think ahead with things like that. The wax is painted on both sides, the two sides are put together, and then you put hot wax into the mould, swill it around, tip it out. And if you've done it well, you should end up with about 5 millimeters of thickness. So that's where we are so far. I'm going to carefully take these off now.